Hey everyone, it's Carly Hall and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I am going to go over the basics of how to cut something larger than you can normally use on your Cricut machine. So we're going to start by going over the basics. If you're using 12 by 12 material, the largest you can cut is actually 11.5 by 11.5. The reason that Cricut doesn't allow you to go the full 12 by 12, let me grab a 12 by 12 square, and we'll send that to the back. Cricut wants us to have a little margin around our cut area. So if I center this little area around the mat will allow us to kind of have a buffer in case our material is loaded incorrectly, and then you're not going to misalign something and waste material. So the largest you can cut is actually 11.5 by 11.5 if you're using 12 by 12 material and your 12 by 12 mat. So that's the key point number one. If you're using a larger mat, the 12 by 24, the largest you can cut is actually 11.5 by 23.5. But again, that depends on if you have the 12 by 24 mat and then material that is also 12 by 24. I don't usually own cardstock that's that big, but you can usually get a roll of vinyl or iron-on that's that long. So those are your two parameters there. Again, 23.5 by 11.5 and 11.5 by 11.5. Now with that in mind, there's some times where you want to cut bigger than that. And you can do that. We just have to go through a process of slicing our design apart. This will work with images. This will work with fonts. And typically you don't even have to really work that hard if you're using a font that is not connected. So let's just type out hello, for example. And if I wanted to cut this word and I wanted it to be super big, you can see that even if it doesn't fit on that material, if I just ungroup it and then click make it, Cricut will automatically split that apart for us and rearrange it to fit on 12 by 12 material. You can tell your Cricut machine that you have 12 by 24 and you can cut it apart. But since those letters are not connected, that is super easy to make a larger than mat design without that much effort. But of course, if you want to be complicated like me, we are going to use a cursive font and I'll show you how to slice that apart and make it larger than the mat. So let's grab our font. I'm just going to type out the word happy, and then I'm going to choose a cursive font. I'm going to highlight my word, and then I'm going to choose this font called Apricots. And I'll put a link in the video description because it's pretty cute. And then we'll adjust our letter spacing. Let's do -0.5, and that will work great. And we'll make it a little bit bigger. If we did not weld our word together at this point, we could cut it, and I'll show you what will happen. Oh, it actually won't let me unless I ungroup it. So let me ungroup this and then click make it. So we could cut it like this and then overlap the letters if we're gluing them onto paper, and that would work fine. But I'm going to show you a different way to do it because sometimes you don't want the overlap to be that obvious, or you want it to be completely puzzle pieced together. So let me take you back to the mat and show you what it looks like now. So the overlap, if we move this away, it's not too bad. They overlap just a little bit, but you can see that it's not perfectly puzzle pieced together. So I'm just going to undo back to where my word was grouped back together. And then I'm going to select this and weld it together. So now my word is welded, but it's a little bit too long if I wanted to cut it on the 12 by 24 because it's not 23.5. So let's just make this even a little bit bigger so it's a little bit more apparent what we're doing. So now let's make this 30 inches wide. So now we have a pretty decent sized word, 30 inches, almost, well, 2.5 feet. So almost 3 feet there. And I think this will look great. But if I were to try to make this right now, we'll get that same warning. And if you're ever confused about what the warning you're getting is, you can click on the warning and it will tell you the layer that's affected. This one, it's telling me your word's too big. So if you're getting a warning when you click make it, you can just go ahead and click on that layer to reveal what the warning says. So now is the fun part. We are going to slice this apart. So I'm going to make a copy. So we have one extra copy over here. And then I only have 12 by 12 material. So to slice it apart, we're going to want to use the 11.5 by 11.5 square. To slice apart our design, we're going to take the 11.5 by 11.5 square. And I like it when it's behind my word so I can kind of see where it's going to go. And then we're going to use this to slice. If you want to start by placing all of your shapes together so you have a better idea, you can do that. And to move it behind, we can drag this layer and pull it. Oops, I did the wrong one. We can drag this layer and pull it behind underneath the words. So you can see that this is how it's working here. And then if you want to select a certain square, you can select it from the layers panel if it's kind of hard to get to. And then you can make copies until you have everything aligned where you want it. So this is kind of the look we're going for. I chose to slice my word down the center of the letter because we're going to glue this one on the back, and then we'll use a second layer on the top. And on that one, I'll slice it between the letters, and hopefully that will make sense when we're gluing it all up. So now we have our squares ready to go and ready to slice. Now stay with me here because it will get a little bit confusing, but it'll make sense once we start assembling it after our Cricut cuts it out. I'm going to shift this over so we can maximize our paper. And I want to slice my first rectangle or my first square from my happy. So I'm going to select my first square and my word happy. And we'll make sure to select the right one. So I have this happy selected and my first piece of paper selected. And then I'm going to click slice. What that does is it slices this one little piece off so I can delete the rest. And I like to call my slice tool kind of like the cookie cutter tool. So this is my cookie cutter, the black word. This is the cookie that it cut. I don't need that. And then here's the extra dough, and I don't need that. And so now we're left with the HA right here. Then we're going to continue on, and I like to use my align tools. So I like to align it to wherever I'm slicing. So I'm going to align that to the left, and then you just want to make sure that your lettering at the bottom isn't going off when you slice it. And then we'll hit slice again, and we'll pull that over. So again, you can delete the cookie and the extra dough. So we have our word sliced apart. Now this will be our base layer, and there will only be 2 seams, which is pretty good. We can put those back together, and that'll be on the bottom of our word. If your word is going to stand alone, I recommend at least 2 layers. If you're hanging this on the wall, you could just get away with cutting this one layer and then tape it up to the wall. But if you want it to be something that you can hold, or you want it to be a little sturdier, then I would recommend doing at least 2 layers. So here's layer number 1. And we'll change this color to be a gray color because that will be our background. And then we'll use this one. We'll use this one to be pink since that will be our top layer. And now we need to slice apart that top layer. So we'll just grab another square and resize it to whatever material size you're using. I'm using 12 by 12, so 11.5 by 11.5. And this time I'm going to slice apart my word in areas that are a little less obvious. So I'm going to try to slice apart here, maybe here, and between my P's so that my full letters are not sliced apart. So I'll make a couple of copies of my square. So like I mentioned, I want it to be sliced in less obvious areas. So right down here would be a good place. So I'm going to select my word again. So I have my word selected and the square. And then once again, I'm going to slice. The slice tool only works when 2 things are selected. So that's why I can't do this all at once, which is a little bit of a pain, but it's not too terrible. And then again, maximizing that paper. And if I wanted to even move it up higher, I could also do that. And then we're going to slice, again, 2 layers selected. So my appy and that square, we're going to slice it. And then I'm not sure if these 2 will fit on the same page. So you'll just want to kind of play around. So I'm going to grab this one even closer. You'll want to play around to really maximize your paper space. And then we'll slice that. So I have my A, my P, and then this last one, we'll align that to the left as well. and slice that. We actually didn't even need to slice that because we had it all ready to go. So let me back it up so you can see. I don't even need to slice that last one unless it went over the 11.5 dimensions. So we have 3 pieces on the bottom and 3 pieces on the top. Now I'm intentionally slicing them in different areas because if I just cut this twice, when I go to glue it together, these 3 pieces would just be doubled as opposed to working and layering together. So it's very important that your 2 layers, if you're layering them, are cut in different places. So you'll just want to make sure that when you place them on top of each other, they're cut in different places and nothing is cut in the exact same place. So then when you glue them together, it'll actually make one word that isn't just 3 different pieces. So again, this is kind of the confusing part, but once you start cutting, it'll make sense. I'm happy with how this looks. We're just going to save it just in case I lose my document. So when I clicked Make It, it gave me this 12 by 24, but it wouldn't give me the 12 by 12. So I'm going to cancel it. And sometimes there's a little bit of a glitch in Design Space. So all you have to do is find that big piece that it's tripping up, and then just come up to the top and type in 11.5, and then click Make It. And for whatever reason, that will kind of trick the software into realizing that, oh, that piece is actually okay. So I'm not sure why Cricut does that, but don't worry. If you can't get the 12 by 12 from here, then just back it out, cancel it, and then manually type in the 11.5 dimensions and it'll work. It's a weird little glitch. So now we have our 3 pieces ready to cut. So let's grab our machine and connect that, and then we'll cut out the pieces. Once your machine is connected, go ahead and choose the material that you're cutting. I'm using medium cardstock, and I chose more for my pressure since my cardstock is a little bit thicker than 80 pounds. On the machine side, a pro tip is to have 2 mats loaded with cardstock. So we're going to load our first one into the machine and then get that cutting. Once that's done cutting, I can unload this mat and work on taking it off the mat while this one is loaded in and already cutting. And you'll just continue this process until you're done with all 6 mats or however many mats you have. And of course, you can save all of the extra area for another project. Once your word is cut out, you'll arrange it so that it puzzle pieces together. And then using your other word, you'll place it right on top like this. So we're going to glue all of the pink layer onto the gray layer. So you'll go section by section, and you'll notice that as you glue on some portions, it'll start connecting the next section of your word. So for this, we'll put the glue onto the gray part instead of the pink. And for areas that are a little thinner, I do like to pull out my double-sided adhesive. So I'm just going to add some adhesive here to make that joint just a little bit stronger. We'll try the double-sided adhesive for this one. Let's see how it does. So I'm preferring the double-sided adhesive. I also have one of those big Xyron sticker makers, which would work great for this as well. Here is the final word. I ended up liking my double-sided adhesive a lot more than the glue stick, so that's good to know. Don't waste your time with the glue stick, not sticky enough. But you can see that it's pink on one side and gray on the back. And the seams on the back are obviously a lot more noticeable, but the seams on the front you really can't see at all. There's just one here and one here. And if you want to cover these up, you could Mod Podge this and glitter it, or you could paint it with an effect so that the seams blend in. And if you want this thicker, you would just continue to build up the layers. So that is super easy to make. Just took 6 sheets of cardstock for this huge word, and it will look so good on a wall or a poster board. So really the possibilities are endless. If you need more help with your Cricut, check out my Facebook group. I'll put the link in the description below, so check that out. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next videos. All right, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.